Hey, what's up? This is Nibs, and I am doing this product review for Blackbookology. These product reviews are special because we cater to the graffiti artists and the black book artists. We also get non-biased opinions from graffiti artists who are not sponsored by the product. And then we also tell you where to buy these products at the cheapest price. Today we're going over COPIC markers, and we're going to get the opinions of Ptoons and Karizmo. We will break this down into features, performance, and price. So let's get started. Let's talk about the features. As you can see, COPIC has many different products and options for modifying their markers. But the three main markers they sell are the COPIC Original, the COPIC Sketch, and the CIAO. All COPIC products use alcohol-based ink and follow the same color scheme, which I'll talk more about later. The Original and Sketch are available in 358 colors. The CIAO has limited color availability. The CIAO is also not refillable, while these two are refillable. The COPIC Sketch and CIAO and Original are refillable. So you can buy one of these cartridges and different types of inks, and you could refill each one of these 9 times with one of these. You can also buy empty markers like this and make up your own colors with different inks. Let's talk about each one of these in terms of nib possibilities. So when you buy the COPIC Original, you will have 2 nibs, one chisel, which is good for like hand styles, and then you have one fine nib, which is good for details and good for outlining, stuff like that. But the COPIC Original has the most versatility because there's 9 different nibs you can purchase separately and replace on this. You could buy super fine nibs, you could buy brush nibs, wide nibs, all types of any nib that COPIC offers, you could implement into this marker. The Sketch, when you buy this, you get a chisel nib and you get this brush nib. The brush nib is good for blending and coloring in areas, and it's very popular because of that nib. This one, you can also replace the nibs, but there's only 4 different types of nibs you can replace, and I think that includes a fine nib. So you could have a brush nib and a fine nib if you wanted to buy them separately. The CIAO is actually limited to 2 types of nibs. It's just like the COPIC Sketch. It has a brush nib and a chisel nib, but that's the only 2 nibs you can get on here. So you cannot get a fine nib on here, which kind of sucks because it's the cheapest marker you can get out of these series. So there is actually a limited edition Sketch which has a fine nib and a brush nib, and for me this is my favorite because I can use the fine nib for the outlines, and then I can use the brush nib for the blending. And unfortunately these are limited and you can't find these everywhere, and they don't come in all colors. They look like this if you can find them, but they're becoming more and more limited because it was a limited edition. Now let's talk about the COPIC coloring system. COPIC makes it very easy with their labeling to figure out which colors are likely to blend. You have the color group, the blending group, and the intensity of the color. All the COPIC markers are labeled like this. Here you have red, violet, 2,9. Here is yellow, red, 1,2 for an example. So this actually makes it very easy because sometimes looking at the number is easier than trying to figure out the shade of color. Overall, I give COPIC features a 4 out of 5. I would have given them a 5, but I think they make it a little too hard to find the right nib combinations and limit your nib replacements on the chow a little too much. So 4 out of 5 is my score, and here are the scores from the other guys. Before we move on to performance, I wanted to stress how important paper is. You really need paper that's suited for alcohol-based markers. And here's some paper that I use, which is thick and smooth. And those are the two properties you always want, thick and smooth. And you'll see the paper is usually labeled for alcohol-based markers, so you'll know. And COPIC actually has their own paper that they recommend, their own brand. You can find the links to that on blackbookology.com. I wanted to show you the performance of these markers by doing a quick sketch. And notice here that I used the same blending group to pick these 3 markers. And this is actually kind of important to get the best blending performance. You want that middle number to be the same. So here I'm using the classic COPIC marker, which usually comes with a chisel nib and a fine nib. So I'm using the fine nib to do the outline, but this marker I modified and I put a brush nib where the chisel nib usually is, and I'm using that to do the fill. Here's a close-up, and notice that using that brush nib, it's very difficult to draw sharp lines. It's nice to blend, but drawing sharp lines is very difficult. And also notice that there's no streaks when you color in. Very low bleed. The ink doesn't spread out too much. And once the ink dries, it actually, you can't see those streaks at all. Now you can see them a little bit as I'm drawing, but the finished product, you can't really tell. And here's some works by Karizmo and Ptoons. You can see how professional they make it look. In conclusion, I gave the performance a 5 out of 5, and Jozef Karizmo and Ptoons both gave a 4 out of 5. So let's talk about the price. Let's start off by saying that these are friggin' expensive. They usually are $5 each, and if you buy a set, they cost pretty much the same. If you buy a set, it's like buying them individually. It's the same price. Like sometimes these sets cost $1,000. I've seen it before. But yeah, if you buy 72 colors and yeah, you pay $377. So let's just do the math there. 377 divided by 72. That's still $5.20 each. So there's no use buying sets if you're just looking for a few colors that you can blend. And I was talking about this before, actually, in one of my previous videos. I used to buy these sets, and it was a huge waste of money because these when you buy a set like this, it's all different colors and you can't blend them. So you then end up buying different shades of each color in order to be able to blend. So stay away from sets like this, I would say. You're much better off buying a set like this, and here you have colors you can blend. Same with the skin tones here. You can blend those. On blackbookology.com, you can find this review written, and you can see all the links to all the different sets I recommend buying. I especially recommend these 3-packs because they pick the colors for you. You can see they selected the colors that will most likely blend, and sometimes even if you're willing to pay the price, there's just no availability for these colors. So I definitely recommend the 3-packs. And here I put in all the links where you can purchase them. And you can trust Amazon. They ship really quickly, and you won't get any expired products or fake COPICs or anything like that. You can get them different places if they have sales, like Uzak. eBay sometimes has deals. You can go bidding on here, obviously, but I'd stay away from them because you get counterfeit ones here too. Michael's has good deals. They have like 50% off sometimes if you get lucky. Sometimes it's not applicable to COPICs though. One other thing I wanted to mention is the COPIC chows. You have an opportunity to save a lot of money there, and you may think they're not as good because you can't refill the ink. But if you think about it, by the time you have to replace the ink, you're going to have to replace the nibs as well because they wear out too. So you're not going to save that much money by buying refill ink unless you're some kind of a professional user. But one marker is going to last you years. So by the time that marker wears out, you may as well buy a new marker instead of refilling ink and changing nibs and stuff like that. It's very cumbersome too. So if I could go back, I'd just buy these chows if I could find the color I need, because they're a little more limited in color, and they're significantly cheaper. Sometimes I've seen them under $3. So shop around for those, and the only bad thing about these chows is you can't get the fine nib on them. But usually I only use them for fills and blending, so it doesn't really matter to me. In conclusion, I give these a 3 out of 5 for price. And you can see the scores there by Jozef, Karizmo, and Ptoons. And if you visit blackbookology.com, you'll see the prices they pay in Germany and the UK for these markers. Here we have a summary of all the scores in this review. You can see that the features and performance, COPIC markers really excel in those areas, but kind of suffer in the price. And that concludes the review. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments beneath the video. I'll be happy to answer them, and thanks for watching.